everyone, welcome to the Bountiful Farmhouse. I am outside in the garden. I'm defying the weather today. There's a little bit of sunshine, I need some fresh air, and so I'm just gonna sit out here and talk to you about a few things. I'd like to start off with talking to you about recapping what's going on our inside greenhouse. I was really concerned about the peppers, but once we've got them on regulated heat, they love the heat, and so every one of them has germinated. I'm very excited about that. Each pot has 3 in it, so once they get a little bit bigger, I will be separating those out into single pots and then sharing them. So if any of you are interested and you're here local around us in Bountiful, Utah, then shoot a comment. I'd be happy to meet you and share some seedlings with you. We'll have plenty, I'm hoping. And then my tomatoes, I was really concerned about them as well, just with a slow germination rate, but every one of them has also germinated, and there's at least 2 or 3 in each pot as well. I'm super excited. So same goes with those. If you're wanting some tomatoes, I'm happy to share what we have. The brassicas are doing really well. I'm hoping that we'll get those out sometime this month if things can warm up a little bit, but they're looking really nice. One thing I want to mention is if you rub your hand across the top of them, it's kind of healthy for them. It helps them to develop a stronger base, and so that they don't tip over and all of that. And then the onions are doing nothing. I'm sad about the onions. I just don't even know. I'll probably start with option 2, and I'm not sure what that is this year, so we'll see. And then, yep, our pickling cucumbers have sprouted. There's a few other cucumbers, there's 3 different types of cucumbers that are starting. And then my tea garden and chive garden are starting to kind of sprout a little bit as well. The chamomile's doing some good things back there. I think I saw this morning a little bit of the oregano is starting to come up. See those little tiny tinies? It makes me so happy to see things like that. So looking forward to seeing what happens. And then down here we've got coriander, dill, and some stevia. And the stevia is starting. It's so tiny you can hardly see it, but there's little tiny green right there. Again, super happy and ready to get them out into the garden. We have some unplanned incidental gardening, I guess we could call it, but the potatoes that I bought last fall, I thought it would be cool enough here in our pantry, and it just hasn't been. So they're starting to grow some slips as well. We're going to experiment with them, and we're going to plant them in our garden and see what we get out of them. We'll cut them, and it's like buying potato seedlings, or I can't remember what they're called at the store when you buy them. Also, we have some of my garlic is starting to sprout, and so I'm going to try to plant that. And then down here I have some shallots that are starting to, you can barely see that, but they're starting to sprout up as well. So we'll plant some shallots too. And you know, it's an experiment. Life is meant to experiment and have fun. We're going to see what's going to happen. All right, I want to start off by saying I hate snow right now. I don't mind snow. I'm just really sick of the snow. I am ready for springtime. We got a couple of inches overnight, and the 10-day forecast, 5 days, the next 5 days is showing us in the low 30s with possible chance of snow again. But the silver lining is that then the following week, we'll be up into the mid 40s and rain, which is great. So that got me thinking about the garden boxes and soil reconditioning and what things I might need to do for this year's planting season. So I want to talk a little bit about that. If you're a beginner and you are starting with not garden boxes, but just doing mounds on the ground, or even just doing right into the ground, you want to maybe start with doing a soil test. And it can be as simple as filling a jar full, dig down and fill your jar full of soil, run some water, fill it up with water, and then let it sit for a couple of days, and you'll see it settle, and you can start seeing the different levels and the types of soil that you have. The chickens are screaming at me. You'll see the types of soil that you have. You can dump the water off and play with it. If it's feeling pretty gritty, you know that you have a lot of sand in your soil, and you'll need to do some you'll need to add some different things.
You'll want to look at your garden extension for what types of things to put back into your soil, because everybody's soil is going to be different and you'll need different things based on what you're planting. So depending on what you're going to do, if you're going to do mounds, garden boxes, or furrows, you'll want to make sure that you're amending your soil to fit those needs. And you'll want to bring in, if you don't have good soil, you'll need to bring in some soil. I've mentioned that I order mine from the Big Yellow Bag. They've got a garden soil, a really deep, dark garden soil, as well as a topsoil, or you can get them at local garden stores, different things depending on how much you need. So let's go from there. The first year we started, we had this whole area was weeds, and we'll talk about weeds in a minute. This whole area was weeds, and we cleared it out. We did our soil test. We discovered that we had really good soil, and we did mounds. So we went and brought in dirt and had, we built these mounds that we planted in for the first 2 years. That's where the weeds came in. So we have what is called a Bermuda grass, and it is the bane of my existence. I hate it, and hate is a strong word. It won't go away. Reading on it, trying to find ways to get rid of it. You don't want to till it because it grows in shoots, so they form. They're like fingers that come out and they form, and at every nodule a new shoot will come out. So if you're tilling it, you're breaking it, and everywhere you break it, it's just going to shoot more and more and more roots. So it's deep here on our lot. It is so deep. But what we've done to remedy it a little bit is the reason we went to garden boxes. Boxes were easy for me to manage the weeds. It was easier for me to keep my vegetables contained, and the weeds then were on the ground below them. So last year, to help with weed control, I got savvy to what's called a chip drop. So chip drops come from local pruning of trees and stuff throughout the neighborhoods, and they don't want to take that anywhere. They're willing to dump it, and you get a huge, huge truckload. You don't get to say how much you want, you just get it. And they don't give you much heads up when it comes, but it comes and it's free. And if you want to donate to keep it going, it's a $20 donation to get it. And so we had a big, huge truckload delivered to us last year. And, but we've spread it throughout the garden in between all the boxes. And I've put probably a 2 to 3 inches, I would say, probably more than that, to help with weed control. If the weeds can't see the sunlight, they're not going to grow as much. And so I know I'll still have some, but it will control it for better than what I was doing before. Okay, so let's go back to preparing your garden beds. If you're doing mounds, and you can actually even do this if you're doing furrows at the end of the year or whatever, but if you're going to do mounds, you want to put, another weed control is to put cardboard on the ground. So when we did our garden the first year, we put a bunch of cardboard down, then we put dirt on top of that and build our mounds. And then the next year, as the mounds kind of went away, right, because they go down as you're working with them and stuff, I put more cardboard down and then did more mounds. And then, like I said, I got tired of that and went to the boxes. But when I built the box, actually when Eric built the boxes and we placed them, we put cardboard down because I want to use the ground that's underneath it. The ground is great soil. It's got everything in it that we need. Things grow really well. So I wanted to continue with that. So we put cardboard down, and then we did a lot of leaves, grass clippings, twigs, different things like that to build a base. And then I got the dirt delivered and put in the garden dirt and filled the boxes with the rest of that, and that's what I planted into. We also have a compost bin that we use, and at the end of last year, I emptied that. Actually, the beginning of last year, I emptied that and let it dry out a little bit, and then spread that through the boxes, stirred it in a little bit, and then put on more garden soil on top of that to help grow. You want to make sure that you layer your boxes. Like I said, you want to put a ground cover-ish, if you will. That's your mulch and different things that are going to happen on there. The leaves, your scraps that you're composting, different things like that you want to be able to. I'm sorry. My cameraman almost tipped over. So you want to put your leaves and twigs and different things that way. Then you put your good soil in, and then after you plant, you want to put mulch on top of that to help, so it will hold the water into your ground there. Sometimes the summers get pretty warm here, and so I want to keep that moisture in, and so that's where that mulch can come in handy for that. I've given a few tips about monthly tips how to get prepared for your garden. And January we talked about looking at your tools and getting things prepared that way, making sure you have it, walk your garden, check your boxes. February is if you're going to do your starts, you want to get those planted, your seeds planted, and get those going. And then March is your early spring, so pruning of trees. We don't have trees that we prune around here. We're going to get a little orchard this fall. We'll show more on that later. But also we have grapes, and it's time to, once the weather gets, I'm hoping that second week, the 10 days, that last 5 days, we can get out and prune the grapes and get them ready to go for the spring. If the ground is clear, and I have ordered my dirt, I'll get that put into the boxes. We're going to build a little hoop house as well and start getting our brassicas out here and planting your early plants. So this is when peas go out. There's carrots that can go out right now, beets that can go out. It's just all based on Mother Nature. Okay, so on the next episode of the Bountiful Farmhouse, hopefully, weather permitting, we will be out here and doing some pruning of the grapes and box prepping and different things that way. I hope that you'll join us. If you like what you see, please subscribe. And if you have any comments, please leave those for us as well. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are really interested in any of the seedlings that I have, shoot me a line. You can send it in the comments. You can email us, which I think is also linked in our comments. And I will be happy to share. Okay, thanks.